The movie begins with a mysterious man, Dwight, sneaking into a stranger's house to take a bath. His peace is abruptly interrupted when the homeowners return, forcing him to escape through a window. Homeless and on the run, Dwight drifts from place to place, eventually finding an old abandoned car to live in. By night, he scavenges for food in parks and reads alone in his makeshift home. The next morning, Dwight's solitude is broken when Officer Eddie wakes him and brings him to the police station. Eddie knows Dwight and wants to ensure he stays out of trouble. She informs him that Wade Cleland, the man who murdered Dwight's parents 20 years ago, is about to be released from prison. This news reignites Dwight's long-held grudge, and he quietly begins preparing for revenge. Dwight gathers what little money he has, buys a map of his hometown in Virginia, and fixes up his car with a new battery. Short on funds, he visits a gun store but can only afford a postcard. He writes a message to his sister Sam and sends it before continuing his journey. Desperate for a weapon, Dwight searches parked cars outside a bar, eventually finding a gun. Unfortunately, the trigger is locked, and in his attempt to break the lock, he accidentally damages the weapon. Determined, Dwight presses on to the Virginia State Penitentiary, where he waits for Wade's release. He spots a limousine arriving to pick Wade up. His family, the Clelands, are there to celebrate his freedom. Dwight's anger boils over as he watches Wade reunite with his loved ones. Dwight tails the Clelands to a bar where they're celebrating. With grim resolve, he sneaks in through the back, armed with a knife, and hides in the bathroom. When Wade enters alone, Dwight seizes the opportunity and attacks. Though his first attempt only grazes Wade's neck, a struggle ensues, and Dwight ultimately stabs him in the head, killing him. Chaos erupts as Wade's family realizes something is wrong. Dwight punctures their limousine's tire before fleeing, though he injures his hand in the process. Realizing he dropped his car keys in the bar, Dwight commandeers the Clelands' limo to escape. As he drives off, he hears a noise from the back seat. Stopping to investigate, Dwight discovers a young boy, William Cleland, hiding in the car. When William asks why Dwight killed Wade, Dwight explains it was because Wade murdered his parents. Distraught, William runs off, leaving Dwight to process the possibility he may have killed the wrong man. Abandoning the limo, Dwight reaches a nearby neighborhood and breaks into an empty house. Inside, he takes the chance to clean himself up, cutting his hair and beard and bandages his injured hand. He checks the news, but there's no report of Wade's death yet. Determined to move forward, Dwight hitches a ride with a truck driver to reconnect with his sister Sam. Sam, now a single mother of 2 young girls, is surprised to see Dwight outside her home after so many years. She greets him and takes him to a diner where the siblings catch up. Sam reveals she had always suspected Dwight was hiding in Delaware, but didn't know where exactly. Dwight admits he'd seen her once, but stayed hidden, ashamed of his condition at the time. When Dwight tells her about Wade's release and confesses to killing him, Sam reacts with a mix of anger and relief. She shares her own resentment toward the Clelands, who still live in the same neighborhood and flaunt their wealth by driving their limousine past her home. Dwight realizes the Clelands may retaliate, putting Sam and her daughters in danger. The two rush back to Sam's house to check on her kids. Finding them safe, Sam's anger boils over. She blames Dwight for dragging her family into danger. Dwight insists she pack up and leave immediately, urging her to go to Pittsburgh for safety. Though reluctant, Sam eventually agrees, taking her daughters and leaving Dwight behind to handle the situation. Alone in the house, Dwight begins searching for weapons to defend himself. His efforts yield little more than a pitchfork. As night falls, he finds himself in his sister's room, flipping through her old elementary school photo album, a bittersweet reminder of the life they once shared. Suddenly, the sound of a car approaching snaps Dwight out of his reverie. He peers outside and sees Wade's brothers, Teddy and Carl, arriving in Dwight's stolen car. Acting quickly, Dwight turns on the bathroom light and faucet upstairs to create a distraction. He sneaks downstairs and notices the 2 brothers splitting up, one entering through the back, the other through the front. The tension rises as Dwight hides behind the hall sofa while Teddy and Carl break into the house. The 2 men head upstairs, giving Dwight a brief chance to slip out unnoticed. However, they quickly spot him and fire arrows at him as he flees. Dwight narrowly escapes, commandeering their car, but not before colliding with Teddy. Checking on him, Dwight demands to know if they're after him or his sister, but Teddy is unconscious. Carl rushes outside and tries to intervene, but Dwight turns the gun on him, forcing Carl to retreat. Dwight chases after him but loses track, eventually returning to the car. He drags Teddy's unconscious body into the back seat but gets struck in the leg by an arrow in the process. Bleeding and in pain, Dwight manages to drive off, leaving Carl behind in frustration. By morning, Dwight rummages through Teddy's belongings before stuffing him into the car trunk. In a desperate move, he uses a saw to cut off the arrow lodged in his leg. Still in pain, he stops at a pharmacy to buy medical supplies, but struggles to remove the arrowhead. Weak and losing blood, Dwight heads to a hospital where he collapses. When he regains consciousness, Dwight finds his leg patched up and seizes the moment to sneak out of the hospital. Returning to his car, he bangs on the trunk, waking Teddy, who starts screaming for help. Dwight silences him and drives off, stopping briefly to grab clothes from a donation box and refuel his car. Back at his sister's house, Dwight tidies up the chaos from the previous night, turning off the bathroom faucet and cleaning the space. He retrieves Sam's school book and flips through it, lost in nostalgia. Meanwhile, Teddy continues screaming from the trunk, complaining about his broken leg and thirst. Dwight stumbles upon an old photograph of his friend Ben and decides to seek him out. He visits Ben's childhood home, where Ben's mother informs him that Ben moved out years ago. Recognizing Dwight, she gives him Ben's current address and workplace. Determined, Dwight hits the road again and arrives at the bar where Ben works. A woman at the bar informs him that Ben, now a bartender, will be finishing his shift soon. Dwight stakes out the bar at night, patiently waiting for Ben to finish his shift. When Ben finally heads to his car, Dwight approaches him. The two old friends share a moment to catch up before Dwight reveals the real reason he's there. He needs a gun. Ben takes Dwight to his home, reminiscing about their wild past, even showing him an old photo of the two with a stripper. He then unveils his stash of firearms, offering not only a gun, but also to train Dwight on his property, which is secluded and ideal for practice. However, Dwight refuses to involve Ben further, insisting he can handle things on his own. Before leaving, Dwight fills a bottle of water to take back to Teddy, who's still locked in the trunk. At the car, Dwight confronts Teddy again, pointing the gun at him. He hands him the water and asks whether the Clelands are targeting him or his sister. Teddy admits they're after Dwight, not his sister. Hearing this, Dwight offers to turn himself in to the authorities, but Teddy coldly replies that the Clelands simply want Dwight dead. In frustration, Dwight fires a warning shot, missing Teddy. Teddy finally reveals the grim truth. Their father, Wade Sr., killed Dwight's dad because he was having an affair with Wade Sr.'s wife. He also admits that Wade Sr. never intended to kill Dwight's mother but accidentally did so during the confrontation. Processing this shocking revelation, Dwight hands Teddy his phone and instructs him to call the Cleland family to arrange a meeting, hoping to settle their bloody feud. Teddy complies, but no one answers the call. When Dwight moves closer to retrieve the phone, Teddy seizes the moment, lunging at Dwight and wresting the gun from him. Teddy, now holding the upper hand, smugly reveals that Wade Sr. died of cancer without ever facing justice for his actions. As he prepares to shoot Dwight, the tables turn once again. Ben appears from nowhere and shoots Teddy in the face, saving Dwight at the last second. After Teddy's death, Ben and Dwight load his body into the trunk and cover their tracks. Ben critiques Dwight's poor shooting skills and insists on training him. After some practice, Ben gives Dwight a new gun and supplies for his journey. Dwight thanks Ben for his help and asks him to destroy an old photo of them with a stripper. As Dwight leaves, Ben tries to follow but discovers Dwight sabotaged his car battery, ensuring Ben stays out of harm's way. On the road, Dwight stops at a diner for a meal, while Ben reluctantly microwaves the infamous photo. Dwight then arrives at the Clelands' residence, ready to confront them and end the conflict. He finds the house empty, so he rifles through their belongings, listens to their voicemail, and disposes of all their firearms by throwing them into a nearby lake. While outside, Dwight notices Wade Sr.'s grave and, in an act of defiance, urinates on it. As night falls, Dwight sets up traps around the house and waits for the Clelands to return. He's momentarily startled by the automatic lights, which are set on timers. After calming down, he passes the time flipping through their family photo albums. The next morning, Dwight drags Teddy's corpse outside to bury it, but is interrupted by a phone ringing inside the house. By the time he answers, the call is ended. Dwight calls the Clelands' home phone and leaves a message, asking to resolve the feud while keeping his sister out of it. He buries Teddy's body and returns to the house, ready for the Clelands' arrival. That night, the Cleland family returns. Dwight watches them from his hiding spot as they play his voicemail message. In it, Dwight reiterates his desire to protect his sister and end the violence. However, Teddy's brother reveals they had been tracking Dwight's sister in Pittsburgh, enraging Dwight. Seizing the moment, Dwight shoots him, sparking chaos. Dwight confronts the Cleland sisters, explaining that he never wanted to hurt their family, but was forced into this mess because they targeted his sister. Meanwhile, William sneaks into the house with a gun. He shoots Dwight, but it's not fatal. The sisters urge William to kill Dwight, but he hesitates. Dwight uses the opportunity to disarm William and tries to finish the fight, but spares William's life upon realizing William is his half-brother, his father's son with Wade Sr.'s wife. The Cleland sisters, now enraged, retrieve a hidden machine gun from under the sofa. A chaotic shootout ensues, resulting in the deaths of everyone in the house, including Dwight. William, overcome with emotion, throws his gun outside and abandons his family as the bloodbath unfolds. In the movie's final scene, the mailman arrives at Sam's house and delivers a postcard Dwight had sent her before his fateful confrontation. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel for more great content. Thank you for watching.